Alright, happy Thanksgiving out there to all you peoples watching. So, this went through a process. Last Thanksgiving I did Thanksgiving. And so I was gonna do Thanksgiving 3. Yes, there is no 2 this year. But I've heard so much bad about it. And I don't want to put myself through it. At least not yet. I'm gonna have to eventually. So I was gonna do the Body by Jake slasher film called Home Sweet Home. But then I caught a break. Because I really didn't want to do that movie. I wasn't really interested in it. I caught a break. I watched Chris Stuckman's review on Planes, Trains, and Automobile. And I went to cash my check after. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I went to cash my check afterwards, right? So as I'm walking to cash my check, I said, wouldn't it be cool, wouldn't it be funny if I went to Walmart? Because I know they released that the Steelbook or whatever at Best Buy, but I don't got a Best Buy here, just Walmart. I said, wouldn't it be cool if they had it there? Well, $15 at Walmart. And so yeah, we're gonna talk Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, a film I've never seen until now, but heard a lot about it as one of the, there's not that many Thanksgiving movies. There's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the Thanksgiving movies, Home Sweet Home, Blood Rage. It's not cranberry sauce, Artie. It's not cranberry sauce, which in thought I should have saved that for Thanksgiving, but maybe I'll do a revisited eventually. Who knows? I said Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And Rocky, of course, for the one scene where Paulie gets pissed off and throws the turkey out, but then comes back in with a turkey leg, which is the funniest thing in that movie I laugh at, is the fact that he's all pissed, hey, turkey, throws it out, and then he has to have the turkey leg, hey, you guys are gonna go up, I'm still gonna have some turkey, I like that. But Planes, Trains, and Automobiles tells the tale of Neil and Dell, who are through a series of conveniences, I should say, of incidents, end up traveling together. And it's all about all the problems that they have. Getting back to Chicago for Christmas. So, I'm gonna go ahead and say my problems with this movie right away. There's only a couple of them. One, the whole idea of them having problems wherever they go, it's been done before. And done worse than the movie Due Date with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis. That movie it's not terrible, but it gets annoying. Zach Galifianakis is no John Candy. No matter how much they want to throw him in like he's the next John Candy. You ever see that? They put him in films like he's this generation's John Candy because he's the fat guy and everything, But he's not John Candy. John Candy is one of a kind, never gonna replace him, gone too soon, and he proves that in this movie. But yeah, this movie does it a little bit better, but it does get to be too much. Now, of course, this was directed by John Hughes, so he knows what he's doing. That's why it's based in Chicago. But I feel like by the time you get towards the end of the film, I'm sitting there, I look at what time's left? 20 minutes. Okay, so we gotta be getting close to the end. No, there's a couple more things after this. 20 minutes left. They still have more problems. Let me show you how that happens. So, Neil leaves his office. He calls a cab. He pays this guy $75 for the cab that Dell just takes and goes off with. And, which, by the way, there is a little bit of a mess up. Because later Neil says you got a free cab. That's not how it works. He took Neil's cab, but when he got to the airport, he'd still have to pay. Because no one paid the cab driver. He'd still have to pay the cab driver. So it's not a free cab. So that's a little, mess up or whatever. But, so he still has the cab. He finally gets to the airport, and Dell is there. They get on the plane. They have to stop in Wichita because the weather's too bad in Chicago. So then they decide they're gonna stay at a hotel, and stuff happens, and then they decide they're gonna take a train, right? But the train breaks down, the train breaks down, so they're going to rent a car. But his car gets taken, so he has to walk. Finally, he eventually meets up with because they do split, and then bumps up with them because he almost gets run over by him because this guy punches him, and then he picks him up by the nuts, and then he eventually they get the rental car, and you think, okay, this is gonna be good, you know. There's a bus too that I don't think that has any problems, but they get left behind, and then it's the bus, and then they get the rental cars, and then so you think that's it. Well, then the rental car gets set on fire because Dell goes. I keep thinking call him Gus Polinski, the polka king of the Midwest or whatever, but no, Gus Polanski, whatever his name is. He throws a cigarette out and it back in, and here we go, and there's this whole thing where he goes, okay, he's getting hot because the fire's coming up. But then there's this whole thing where his jacket gets caught on the thing, and it's like, I'm like, what is going on? He's driving. They drive back, and then they're on the wrong side of the road at one point too, going the wrong way somehow because of what's going on. But then the thing gets set on fire. And then they're driving around, and then they get told, hey, by Michael McKean cameo. We'll get to the cameos in this film because it's not legal to drive that. So they get taken back, and then they eventually get the train tickets to go back. Right? And then that's how it ends. Because I'm not going to go into spoilers yet on what happens, but eventually they make it to Chicago. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes on, but here's the kicker. At a certain point in the film, that for a couple times we keep cutting back to the wife in bed. At one point, they cut back to the wife in bed, and there's a news report saying that the airport they were in is now clear, and no flights are going to be going out. So if they had just waited, they would have been able to get on their flight and go home. Irony. It's there. But yeah. The other thing that drives me is that, well, it's not a bad thing because it ends up with a good ending, but I feel like because they planted enough seeds, I was able to figure out the quote-unquote twist with Dell. Because, throughout the film, he keeps talking about his wife, and he has a big picture of his wife that he sits next to the bed and everything. And there's a part where Neil mentions, you get have your wife, and he kind of just nods. And then earlier in the film, when the plane lands and they have to land in Wichita, Neil calls his wife right away. Dell calls the hotel, but he makes a line about family, love your family and your wife or whatever. But then he calls a hotel. So what's going on? And eventually, I figured out his wife's dead, and then that's only one half of the twist. I didn't catch the other half. I didn't realize he was homeless too. But like at the end, so I figured out the dead wife. So I knew that. I knew that happened. Yeah. So there's this moment, and I like what they do with Neil's thought process throughout the film. Like he thinks and you see like certain stuff. Sometimes it's flashbacks, but there's one moment when he first sees Dell in the airport. He has his thought process and it goes back, and you see, Dell behind the car door, but it's in the airport. So they had to dress John Candy up like he was outside and put a big car door in front of him to do that. That's really cool, you know? And this thought process actually leads to a candid moment at the end of the film when Neil is finally on the train and he starts thinking about everything he's going home to and everything that's happened to him. He thinks about his wife, his family, then he starts thinking about what everything happened with Dell, and then he starts thinking about what Dell said about his wife and about everything, and he realizes what's going on. You know, like he said, he hadn't been home in years. And that was a figure of speech, but he figures it out. He goes back to the train station. He goes, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "No. You said you were going home, so why are you here?" So he admits he has no home. I'm like, okay, I didn't see that coming. And although they do tell you, because if you look at the big ass trunk that he's carrying around, all the stickers on it are from hotels, and we see that he slides his way around by, you know, doing con jobs, basically. That's how he gets around. So he doesn't have a stage job, really. He sells the little shower curtain ring things, apparently, which is also nodded to because there's one in a puddle at the beginning of the film. Also, before I continue, beginning of the film, there is a cameo from Kevin Bacon. It's always been assumed that this cameo is the same character from the movie, the John Hughes movie, She's Having a Baby. However, going back to the scenes of the wife in bed, she's watching She's Having a Baby. So I don't know how that works. But, yeah, it's really confusing. But anyway, so yeah, he invites him home with him, of course. And he cuts to them carrying the big-ass trunk down the street. So I'm assuming they got to the other train station and had to walk. It's not that far, I guess. And he comes in and... yeah, I did tear up because it's like it's this whole thing. He's been trying to get home to his wife, and he's there introducing his father-in-law, his mother-in-law, his dad, his mom, his kids to him, and then like he's like, "Honey, I want you to meet a friend of mine," and she goes, "Hello, Mr. Griffith." I'm like, wait, how does she know his name? I'm not sure he ever said his name to her. Maybe he did and we just didn't hear it. But I don't know. And, you know, they hug. Not Dell and her. Neil and his wife. They hug and it's happy and the movie ends with "Every Time We Go," which is actually playing before that. But, yeah. Yeah, they kind of tear up when they hug because he's finally home. He finally did it. It's what he wanted to do. Yeah. So, cameo time. Like I mentioned, Kevin Bacon and Michael McKean, but we have Mr. I Could Have Birds from Friends. That forget his name. He was the neighbor that lived underneath Monica and Rachel. Mr. Heckles from Friends. He's in this. The lawyer from Jurassic Park is in this. Some Ferris Bueller people. The dad from Ferris Bueller. The teacher, Ben Stein from Ferris Bueller. Edie McClurg, who was the secretary from Ferris Bueller, in a scene, which I'll talk about in a minute. It's the scene that everybody talks about because it's the one scene as to why it's the reason why this movie is rated R, and we'll get to it. But you also have Dylan Baker, the guy from Home Alone, the dangly ones. That guy, the guy who you know, they're trying to get the earrings and stuff. He's in this. You know, so kind of full circle. Well, actually, this is 1987, so it's before that. But yeah, so the scene, the one scene is why this movie's rated R. So I knew this movie's rated R, right? So I'm in here and I'm watching this and I'm like, you know, there's not a lot of swearing or nudity or anything that would indicate this movie is rated R. If you took this one scene out in 1987, you could get a PG. I mean, there's like pictures of naked chicks in the cabinet they're in, but in 1987, you can get away with that. I mean, just look at that. Just look at, well, the Wraith was PG-13, but, you know. Yeah. Airplane which came out 7 years before this, was PG, and there's a scene with titties flopping. But yeah, this scene. So by this point, Neil is fed up. He is done, and he walks up to the desk where Edie McClurg is, and she's, of course, Edie McClurg, so she's happy and she's smiling, and he just throws out 17 or 18 fucks in a row. I want a fucking car, fucking now. He just boom, 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 and I never thought I'd hear Steve Martin say the F word so much. It just, the old, the catchphrase, no fucks are given. Well, he had 17 or 18 to give. I think it was like I heard it was 18, but I don't know if they count Edie McClurg's, because he's like, give me a fucking car now. She's like, do you have your rental agreement? He goes, I threw it out. She goes, oh boy, what? And she goes, you're fucked. So I might count that as the 18 fuck, but like, because throughout most of the film I'm going, why is this rated R? There's nothing that indicates it should be rated R. And then this scene happened, and I'm going, oh, got it. Guys, this was a good first watch. I really enjoyed this. John Candy was something special. Steve Martin has proved that I need to watch more Steve Martin movies, because he's really good. This, and I did one in the 80s. It's not there anymore. I did one in the Pick 10 80s with Steve Martin, didn't I? I swear I did. Or no, it was Little Shop of Horrors. That was Rick Moranis stuff, which I'm going to get back to eventually. I don't know when. But when it comes to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that's a title, it's hard to say. I have to say it's pretty good. So what are your thoughts on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.